X-Men 97
We out
has
here.
returned. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. How do you feel about it? I mean, you seem like really hype, but then also you were confusing a lot of people
I
because
know I was. And
you put a gif of Vince McMahon crying. And
yeah.
if people knew what that gif was really supposed to be for, then they were like, I think they would have known. I think it was happy tears, but
Yes. Because
people
it's
were
Vince
very
crying
scared.
about the greatness of someone, and
Right.
I know people were very scared, and I get it. And I think that was my intention, because I wanted a little confusion. I wanted to make sure people weren't, knowing exactly how I was feeling.
Yeah, I put the smiling emoji with like the whole teeth showing, like
Yeah, you were
like
you were
I don't
much
know.
more intentional. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was. No, the shit was it's hot fire. Um, my one reservation, because I've been rewatching the whole original X-Men right before this, and so my reservation came when I first saw the trailers and stuff, was the change in animation style. That was my one reservation. And at first I was like, I don't know, because it just looked too clean and too dope, honestly, comparatively to the old shit.
Well, comparatively, the other shit was in like 97, so
Yeah,
it's
so
like
yeah, it was like 30 years ago. So
yeah,
um
so the animation
game,
available, the available techniques and
yeah.
technology was not there, so
No. But that was just
yeah,
my reservation because I was used to the old one, and I saw some other people saying that. Then
that's
again, once I
interesting.
watched it, that faded away instantly. That reservation was out the window.
Okay.
The shit was fucking beautiful. I'm mad they took away Rogue's thickness. Like, I can't say that. I'm
Oh
quite
my god, you
disgusted.
one of those guys?
I'm one of those guys, dog. Look, Rogue,
Oh
Rogue
my
is my,
god, man, I'm disappointed.
look, Rogue is one of my favorites, fam. You know what I mean? Like, and it was okay. The thing is, I always thought that it was just that one shot, the famous shot of her fat ass, that I thought that was, the only one. But no, when you watch the original series, dog, she is super thick in every shot. It's ridiculous. So I do
The male
understand them.
gaze.
Yeah, no, but it was like Rogue was thick.
Okay, but did that deter your time of
No, that was just a quick mention. I'm
okay.
just saying, Rogue was thick and now she ain't. It's just like how Magneto was old and now he is zaddy. Like they gave enough love to
He he
Magneto.
he looked like the lead singer of a hair band.
That man looks like
He don't like no
what's it,
zaddy.
Fabio with Fabio gone gray is what Magneto looked like in this joint. He is pure zaddy. I don't know what you're talking
No,
about.
I just I don't. Well, I'm not. I
They
wasn't.
stripped that man
He didn't
naked.
give zaddy
There
for
was
me,
pure
but
S&M in that third episode. There was a lot going on with
yes, there's
Magneto.
SNL, but I'm
I
not
should
attracted
use
to.
you as a toy was the line
He said
said to this
that, and
man.
he
No,
said that,
she
and
said that to him.
that too.
That's a zaddy.
Listen. Fine, whatever. I'm not attracted to the man. So, but what
I'm always have been.
you always been. Yeah, and
His is
also
Eric.
this is
Yeah.
a side note. Like it was interesting to see this character design of him because recently when we were at New York Comic Con, whereas that guy did an amazing cosplay of Magneto with the long hair, and he had
Mm-hmm.
his hair in the ponytail at first, and he had it down, so it was just a nice precursor to see all that. He was wearing a classic suit though, but he had
Yeah.
the long hair, rock god Magneto.
Yes.
So that's how you felt about it. When I first got into it, I was just like, "What the fuck is this?" Like it just felt and I was because I did not go back and watch the old
Mm-hmm.
episodes, right? I just went straight off of memory and vibes. So
Your memories and vibes are probably lying to you. I would say that too.
th- I think actually what it is, remember, I'm very, very young watching
Mm-hmm.
this stuff, like too young to probably be
Yeah.
watching and understanding half the stuff. And when I was talking to you, like when maybe weeks back, months back, when I was talking to you about how I loved all this and the melodramatics and da 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 da, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a story for kids, your stories. And you were actually using the word melodramatic. You were like, "Yo, that shit's wild melodramatic." You didn't realize how extra it was. And apparently, I didn't. I just remember loving it because when this shit came, and let me tell y'all, X-Men 97 is true to form when it comes
Oh
to
my God.
that tone. The tonality is spot on. But when it opened, I said, "This shit is weird and weak." I was like, "What?" It felt
Wow.
corny.
Oh
But I said,
wow.
wait a minute. This was the original show. And that's when I
Yes.
mean, well, and I guess that's where you're right, where I says my memories and vibes were lying to me because
Lying.
I don't remember it being like that.
It's
But it
exactly like that.
100% was because then when I saw some older clips from the original series, I was just like, oh yeah, they did say that, right? So after that shock like I said, and again, this is kid me versus adult me just coming to terms with each other. And after that initial shock wore off, and I said, Tatiana, put yourself now in the visage of this is from a 90s tone and perspective. This version of them. This is written purposefully to emulate a lot of that feeling and approach. And once I linked that in my head, I said, okay, bet. From that point on, I had a great time. And again, this diatribe and this struggle I have with myself happened in the first episode. Like,
yeah,
the first maybe 10, 15 minutes, I was like, what the fuck's going on? And then I said, oh.
yeah.
I said, oh, Kid Tati, calm down. Not Kid Tati, but adult Tati, calm down. This is what Kid Tati couldn't translate back in the day. And this is what it really was.
And the other thing about it is, like, having just rewatched the whole joint, for the majority, I did not finish the last season, but then I did watch the very last episode just so I could see how it ended and see where this was coming from. First of all, for everybody who hasn't known or hasn't watched a YouTube video catching you up, X-Men 97 pretty much takes place like the day after the last episode ends, maybe a few days, weeks later.
It's the day after tomorrow.
Yeah, it's very short. And in the end of the last season, Professor X does get shot, as we see in the beginning of this.
Ricky.
And he's cookies right now. And I don't want to spoil, exactly what happened to Professor X, but to the public and the world at large, he's dead. So it's pretty much continuing.
From
and like you said, the tone is straight up purely. I feel like they even turned it up a little. Well, no, I can't say that.
Turn it up.
No, that's untrue because, like I told you, Tatiana, when I was rewatching this shit, I was like, "Yo, this shit is outrageous!"
Well,
like
I said,
the way this nigga Wolverine was crying over Jean, I need you too. It was so ridiculous.
It didn't read as outrageous, but yes, you're right. It's absolutely outrageous.
They did not turn it up. They might have toned it down.
And I say this to people listening, as long as you go in with that understanding, they are writing this and approaching it as the 90s version, then it's going to make sense. If you come there thinking on some 2000s and later shit, you got the wrong idea. And I think, and I'm saying people, and I can see that because people think 97, they think today's level or style of writing with new and with animation with the old characters. I'm like, that's not what it is.
I don't want to say that I disagree, but I don't think that it's. I think. Let me see how I put this. Right. Okay. I don't want to say that this isn't modern style of writing. I think it's very modern style of writing. I think that what people are forgetting. That's what I'm saying. I don't think people. Once again, I think people's memories of the old show are just different than what it was because the old show is very modern. It was one of the first shows that had a continuing story arc, at least in animation, where it was like things happen. Like Professor X and Magneto spent a whole season in the Savage Land, and every episode would just have a bit of their story while the main story is happening. Yeah, continuity. And it ended, like I say, and the continuity continued into this. But the melodramaticness of it is just like that's kind of baked into the X-Men. The X-Men are very melodramatic from the comics. They're very wordy. They're very much, people who always talk about their feelings and they're always stressed about being mutants. That's just part of their shit. So, and I think the way these stories are told is very well done, like in a modern fashion.
It is well done.
That's why I don't want to like.
So I'm gonna rephrase a little bit. Maybe not modern. It's not written from it has contemporary influence, but it's more 100. It's more deeply informed by the tone of the 90s show. It's much to me. It's much more deeply informed by that. Yes, it has the trappings of we're in 2024, so the people are going to be the people who are writing are informed by their experiences in 2024. Yes, so clearly there's updates there. So maybe modern is not the word, but it's not a contemporary feeling. It's not something that something is based in this time. It's very firmly 90s.
Yes.
So I just want to make that, but that being said, now that we agree, I just want to make that distinction to people because I can see people, because like I did, going to this the wrong way and thinking it's something else. And I'm like, no. And
I think the thing is, that's going back to that, your memories are lying to you. I think a lot of people are going to come into this and think it's something that it isn't because their memories told them that this X-Men show in the back in the day was the greatest written thing ever.
That's what I thought. And then I was like, what the fuck are they saying? Like,
it never was.
And that's why I got like again, it was a hot second when the episode started. But I was like, yo, what the fuck is going on? What are they talking about? And why are they talking like that? But then I was like, oh wait.
No, it was one. It was always ridiculously overly melodramatic, but it was just like any show. There were some good episodes and there were some bad ones, and there was a lot of bad ones, honestly, and then there's a lot of good ones. And like when they were on like a particular story arc, they did great translations. I thought that was another thing that carried over to this because they translated very quickly a lot of Inferno, the Trial of Magneto. Yeah, it's the Trial of Magneto is pretty much the first episode. Inferno, not Inferno really, but parts of Inferno take place in the third episode.
2.
Okay, yeah. The first episode is more just
the intro. That's
just the intro and catch you up to everything. And then the second is the Trial of Magneto, and the third is a bit of Inferno, but just a lot of history of Jean Grey and Madeline Pryor compressed very well. I thought fucking excellently the way they handled that.
And I will say that this is actually really well done. Like like I said, once you realize what's going on, it's actually compelling, and the show got better to me. Like it, typically you want the pilot episode to be the strongest, but it wasn't. Not for me anyway.
No, I wouldn't say that either.
The strongest to me was 2 and 3, right? So and that, I guess that's a good thing, because then that draws you deeper into the story. And then I was like, okay, this is more along the lines of what my memory was saying was, yo, it's still great stories. It's still giving me soaps. It's still giving drama. And I fuck with that. And again, we'll stick with episode 1 right now, but like that look and feel from the original series, like, did you feel like they did a great job paying homage? Do you think that, and there are updates there as well, and new things that they approached. How do you feel about that?
I think it's great. Like I said, that was one of my big reservations was the style of animation that they chose for it. But then just starting with where, we'll do this episode by episode, and starting with episode 1, first there's the Marvel animation slate where they show, it's like the old, the Marvel red, but now it says Marvel animation. And in the background, there's animation from Amazing Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends on down the line. I think even earlier than that, to all the way up to their latest What If stuff. So it was, dope little intro. And then the music hit in. And as soon as the music hit in, it's that Pavlov dog. Yeah, the dog response. I'm like, hey! And then they have the opening, Storm and Rogue flying outside of the Blackbird.
The Blackbird, yeah. And then the X-Men logo flipping around.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, they kept the intro, they kept the music right. But then I'm noticing the change in animation. I see Storm got the mohawk as she's flying around. Yeah. And then they do the little intro shots. And I'm like, oh, this is dope. Because I'm feeling the
same.
Yeah, mostly. But they're just updated animation. It's all the same moves and everything.
It's just cleaner.
Just cleaner. And it's all dope. And then Bishop's added in the beginning. And Morph is added in the beginning. Right. So I'm like, okay, that's dope. So dope. And then, so right away, I'm pretty much feeling it. And then the Friends of Humanity showing up. And if you watch the first one, I didn't realize how heavy they were because
heavy. When you said heavy.
Oh, they were heavy in the first series.
Oh, how deep they were.
Yeah. Because when they showed up in the comics was kind of the time I stopped reading comics especially X-Men for a second. So I didn't give a shit about them, honestly. I always thought the Friends of Humanity, because there's always some niggas who hate mutants. And I just thought the Friends of Humanity was a corny name. And it's even more hilarious now because now it just looks like fuck out of here. And it just looks like they just running around saying fuck out of here to everyone. Yeah. And it's even funnier because like they are saying fuck out of here to the mutants.
They are.
So it like fits perfectly. But I just never gave a shit about them. I never gave a shit about Graydon Creed, who is Sabretooth's son and the leader of them. I just never gave a shit about any of that.
Fuck out of here is still whack. They're still whack. They're still whack. In this 97 series, they're still whack.
They got the whole Mega Man guns on their arm. This shit was corny. But I was super happy to see Roberto da Costa. Not as brown I would like him to be, but, the accent was heavy. The brown skin, the curly hair was there. And he's not the super confident Roberto da Costa of later years. He is still super young, super green, but still had the flyness. He had
the confidence.
Yeah, he let Shorty know I'm rich, single, all that. And
I got the jet.
Yeah, I got the jet. I can let you fly it sometime.
Got the PJ, yeah.
Yeah, so Roberto is beautiful. And that was great to see because he's one of my favorite characters. Got him on the shelf over here. He shines in X-Men Red if you haven't read that. But yeah, I've been a Roberto fan since New Mutants, Fallen Angels. We can go back. Like, that's my dog. So, yeah.
And then the costuming is a little bit different too. Some for some or most, the costuming is a little bit different.
Slight updates.
There's slight updates there, and like you mentioned, like the biggest one for me was obviously Storm, and the fact that she doesn't have that full mane of hair anymore. She still got the long shit going on, but she got the mohawk. I actually have a Storm behind me right now, but the mohawk Storm, which I know a lot of people thought was cool. You know, my memories, of course, were like, you know, the mane. So I was just like, all right, this is different.
No, Mohawk Storm is the god, fam.
I'm sure.
And I mean that should have been a big hint. I mean, that should have been a big hint. I also should have got another big hint from the episode titles, which were already released, and 2 of them involve life death, and that should have been a big hint to what happens in episode 2. But we'll get into that. But it wasn't enough for me, and all the goddamn foreshadowing was also quite hilarious to me.
So much foreshadowing. I mean. And I actually didn't realize, or maybe I forgot, like, shout out to Steph Will, who, like, one of the reasons why, like, she was able to help build her platform was, like, the jokes when it comes to X-Men and how ridiculous and as you say, outrageous their shit was. And really the shit that they have been saying all along. And again, maybe they didn't turn it up, but it feels amplified here now. Maybe because the animation is so clean, so I'm not distracted by bad animation. It's just like, yo, what is these niggas actually saying? And it's just the comments that these characters be making.
Can we talk about
Morph?
Morph? We're gonna have a lot to say about Morph in a second.
And we should also get into it because, like, again, we're talking about episode 1.
Yep.
Which is called the title "To Me, My X-Men." And one of the things I also wanted to make sure we touch upon before we go into details is the voice acting. So I did look it up just to double check. Most of the voice actors from the original series has returned. With the exception of a couple.
Is it still Cyclops, or people were acting like he had a new voice?
I thought he had a new voice because he sounded different, but apparently it's the same guy, and I was shocked.
I'm telling you, it's all memories.
It's not memories. Listen, memory. I can understand a broken memory about, you know, exactly how good something was, or was it really that outrageous or something.
Yes,
but two, I feel like certain things in the human thing, voice and scent, and there's like one other that does not change.
Well, he probably changed. It's been 20 years.
His voice has changed. Is what has changed. It's a little different than what it was, and perhaps that could be, again, because he's older. His voice, literally, his vocals may have changed, or he changed the inflection for this show. Who knows? But it's the same guy. However, I do hear a difference. I like it.
I mean, I don't, like I said, even having just rewatched it, the only voice who is like so identifiable for me is Rogue, because I'm like, that's the same woman. There ain't no goddamn way.
That's because she has very, very specific intonation and how she does that accent, and it's like unmistakable. There was some words she said that I was like questioning it a little bit, but again, I confirmed it's still her. And I just wanted to, like, I'm trying to say the names too, but there's so many damn names.
Don't even do it. Come on, man. People can Google.
The original voice of Storm is still there.
Yeah, we'll be here all day.
Yeah, you were talking about it, when you were talking about outrageous, how extra. I love it. As soon as she said it, to the winds of the east and to the west, I was like, yes, this is what I remember.
She said, reclaim these people or something when she called the desert.
Okay, that's episode like 2 or 3, so we can't.
No, that's still 1 when she came. No, that's when she went hard on the Sentinels. It's still 1. That's when she. Yes.
Damn, well, I have.
Yeah, I got my notes right here. No, that's no 1. That's still 1.
But but that was one of the most badass things. But anyway,
we were talking about foreshadowing, and one of the biggest and most ridiculous ones to me was in 1. When Storm is sitting with Jean and is over there wondering what it was like. She's like, I once thought about, like, what it was like to have powers.
Right.
But then I was like, I love my family over here so much.
It's just like heavy-handed foreshadowing, outrageous lines, but it's entertaining. And that's why I keep saying it's like your stories for kids, or now for adults, right? It's the stories. Like, it just be some crazy as the world turned type shit. Like, yo, why is this happening? But they're all animated, right? But yeah, everyone generally sounded great. I know also people were kind of talking about Wolverine a little bit, but it's the same guy.
Oh yeah, I know that was another one. I knew that was him.
Yeah, yeah. I love Gambit. Now, if you want to talk about a zaddy, we talking about Gambit. That's my
Oh
nigga.
god,
Okay, so
man, I've
that's
never.
that's my nigga.
I was such a Rogue fanatic, and when he showed up, and it was like when they
Jealous.
no, it wasn't that it was jealousy because it was like it was corny. Like, all right, you gotta
Oh, that they
remember,
put the two Southerners together.
the two people from Louisiana together. Nigga, like it's like when they put Storm and Black Panther together. It was
The
like nigga,
blacks. Yeah,
yeah, the
yeah.
blacks to get together, and now here's y'all.
Well, lack of imagination, but you see what they did in this series, right? With
And
Rogue.
and there's also the thing about Gambit, like this is a bigger story, but I guess I could just explain it. And
Remember, I want to make sure we talk about.
no, well, I'll say that for the third.
Okay.
Well, no, I'll just explain it now because it makes more sense to explain it now, right?
Okay.
Okay, Gambit blows up, and Gambit is actually created by Chris Claremont in the 1990s. And the 1990s, the comic books were the time of super extreme. Everybody's extreme. As I've pointed out on Twitter, there was a character named Longshot who had a one glowing eye. He wore a lot of pouches. He had a mullet, and art was done by this creator Art Adams, who became super influential. And mad characters copied that, such as Cable with the glowing eye, mad pouches, such as Gambit with the glowing eye, mad pouches, right? And so when Gambit shows up, Gambit is like the epitome of extreme 90s shit. My man got the trench coat. He got the weird eyes. Plus, he got the glowing eyes.
Even in this show,
plus he's a thief.
He got the cut off crop top and everything going.
Yeah, he got the cut off crop top. He got the hair. Mm-hmm. He got all the extremes. He got the 5 o'clock shadow. It's like all the things that all the 90s characters had. Gambit showed up with everything. He's a thief. He's a rogue. All the women love him.
With him.
He's an anti-hero type character. So he was all the things that 90s characters embodied, right? Then at the same time, there's this X-Men villain who we see in this series and an original called Mr. Sinister. And Mr. Sinister is this super extreme villain, right? Like as they said on here, he's so evil that his name is Sinister. It's just ridiculous. He's all white. He looks like a vampire. Mm-hmm. He's got the black armor. He's just like the evil of evil, right? So Chris Claremont introduced both of these characters around the same time. Gambit shows up. Mr. Sinister shows up. Now, Chris Claremont's original intention for these characters is hilarious because Chris Claremont gets fired off X-Men a couple years later and doesn't actually get to introduce what his real story was. But the real original story for Gambit, and probably why I grokked early that I didn't fuck with this dude, was that both him, Gambit, and Mr. Sinister are supposed to be mental creations. It's supposed to be a young 12-year-old mutant who envisions these things as, okay, this is what a hero should be.
Version of me.
Yep. Yeah. And this is what a villain should be.
On some Shazam shit.
On some Shazam shit. And so he created them both and sent them out into the world. And Gambit joined the X-Men. And Mr. Sinister becomes the villain. And it was eventually going to be revealed for that. But it never happened. And so this super, ridiculous character Gambit, because he became super popular instantly.
I love him.
And that's the thing. People didn't get the joke. It's just like another character like Lobo. Lobo was supposed to be a joke about Wolverine and all these characters, and nobody got the joke. They were just like, oh, Lobo's cool. Yeah. Gambit's cool. So they didn't get it, and people, clamped onto them. And now Gambit's an official character with 30 plus years, and him and Rogue are, official couple, and it is what it is. But the original intention for them both was really interesting and really hilarious to me. So,
that's interesting.
A little bit of X-Men bat now,
and that's okay that we all missed a joke apparently, and that's fine by me.
It worked out because, like I said, as much as I didn't like Gambit, then he's had some great stories and great adventures. Man, he had this one issue where he pulls a knife out of his thigh, and then like somebody shot him with a knife, and then he like pulled the knife out with his teeth and used that knife to pick a lock.
Yeah.
I became a Gambit fan.
Like I had said it earlier, but I want to really impress upon people how fucking hilarious this series is, because there are, like I said, not only the dialogue, but there is just some choices that are like clearly made to be funny. And when I say to be funny, I mean when they're like, in today's, it's shit that happens to the characters that in today's stories, again, more contemporary stories of the now, you would be like, that's a plot hole, or why would they do that? Or,
Okay, I gotta know where you're saying this. I'm really not feeling
example,
that. Yeah, I need to hear.
First episode, when you get introduced to these niggas and they fighting the niggas in the beginning, or fuck out of here. They fighting fuck out of here in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
In the little warehouse. Storm and Bishop come down and rain holy hell on these niggas, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, well, first of all, you should have been dead immediately, right? This is Storm you talking about. She coming down with the lightning immediately. Like, ain't no build up. She says, she says her, cannons to the east and then cannons to the right of them, and then comes down with the lightning, right? But they kind of making it. They kind of making it alive, right? The fuck out of here is kind of
Storm has
still making
great control.
They're kind of making it alive, which I'm just like, that's not supposed to happen. Then at one point, one of the fuck out of here people shoots this computer that is right next to Storm and Bishop. And both Storm and Bishop get taken out, like knocked the fuck out. And literally like pass out on the floor. Both of them together. Then down come repelling like the fucking SWAT team comes Scott fucking Summers to come save the day, like saying some cool kid, like, Bart Simpson shit. And that's why I'm just like, this shit is hilarious because there ain't no goddamn way that this shit would fly. Like if they were being for real. And that's why I'm like, it's also an element of camp in this and why I think it's funny. There is an intended camp in how they're doing the dialogue and the approach. There's no fucking way that you would be dead ass serious doing this nowadays. No fucking way. No.
I don't know. Like, to me, it just reads
Storm?
like... Okay, I'm not... All right, first of all, I'm not understanding. Did you want her to lightning these niggas to death?
No, not necessarily. I'm just saying, I just find it funny that out of anything that could have...
An explosion takes her ass out.
A little ass fucking explosion that some fuck out of here people started. It wasn't like
they were shooting with the Mega Man guns, dog. They had the Mega Man guns doing him.
Oh my God. No, that shit was funny. That's the first thing I said. I said, how did they get taken out by that? And it was both of them. I'm just like, damn.
I mean, Storm is not, like, powerful.
She's not invulnerable, but God. Yeah. None of them are, but my God.
Yeah. I mean, I don't...
It was funny.
I feel you, Riggs, but I don't. It's like,
That's fine.
Yeah,
I was just like, ain't no way. Because then when you look at later episodes, that stupid shit don't fucking affect her. And I'm just like, that is classic. That's classic camp for me. Like, it's like later on, like picking and choosing what stupid shit decides to affect the character. That shit really shouldn't be affecting them at all. Not like that.
That's pretty much like every Marvel film. Like, people complain about that all the time. Like, it's like their power levels change depending on...
Yeah, that's power level, but...
That's power levels. Their power... Like, Storm later survives a battle with the Sentinels with no problem. So I get it, like, in the same episode.
So maybe, like you said, maybe that is just classic Marvel. But
yeah, that is just Marvel. It's comics, books. It's, that's what I mean. It's like, it is what it is. Some days Spider-Man can survive a fight with Fire-Lord, and some days Spider-Man has trouble with thugs on the street. It just is what it is.
Doesn't make
that's
it less funny.
No, but that's like, to me, I guess because I'm so deep in comic books, it's just like, yeah, that's how it is. Explosion, they get knocked out, and then later on she fucks up some Sentinels,
I was just like, what? So
yeah.
It was just funny.
I wanted to give a big shout out to that entrance though, and Cyclops sliding around, being like using his optic blast as projectile beams and moving himself with it.
Yeah,
I've read a lot of X-Men comics. I don't know if I've seen him do that, and that was Fly.
I don't recall him being able to do it, but he can. Like,
no, he can.
It's been done before in stories, so I don't know.
Yeah, I've just never seen him do that.
Like power beams, I'm like, all right, it's plausible.
Yeah, it's definitely plausible. I mean, I've seen it done in other stories. I've never seen Scott do it.
Right.
I've never seen him drop down and fly, basically
drop
land
down from 3,000 feet in the air or
so
less.
Lit. So lit.
This show reminded me one thing that my memory did not fail me on: how much I fucking can't stand Scott Summers and how he's a fucking simp.
The hate is
he did some cool shit with his powers and stuff like that.
He did all kind of cool shit.
As a guy, that's always up in his fucking emotions and Gene and I never liked this nigga. No, that stands firm for me. If you didn't like this nigga before, you damn sure ain't liking this nigga now. And what I mean by that is just him as his person. Is he a cool character in the show? Yeah. But as a person, he annoys me. He fucking annoys me. And it's still there. Y'all did right.
Disagree. 100%. Scott Summers fan club right here.
He pisses me off.
All day. Scott Summers all day. all
Ugh.
day.
The nigga, okay, we'll talk about it in the other episode, but the nigga like could.
Yeah, hey, well, hey, say that because and no, yeah,
He
because
couldn't
no.
tell. Okay.
Hey. All right. One other thing I want to point out in this episode was I just loved the
But
Sentinels.
what exactly happened this episode? Like, we did the intro where we got reacquainted with the
people
team.
seen the shit. We don't need to tell them exactly what happened.
No,
Like,
but I'm for us, so I can understand because especially earlier you had said something happened. I didn't realize it all happened in the first episode. And
they fought the Sentinels.
So I wish you would just listen to me when I say do it, because I was getting to the point about the pacing and the storytelling that it makes that they were able to put so much story. And you mentioned it before when you said the specific storylines, but the fact that as you're watching, as I mentioned, it starts getting better and it increasingly gets more involved. So I think they did a fantastic job because pacing is also a big thing. And you never technically want to like be in lulls and things like that. And I feel like they did very well there.
That's why I think I get what you're saying. Like the second or third episodes might have been, but I thought the pilot was very strong for a pilot because I think it had a lot to do and handled it all very well. Like it catches you up on a whole ass series that happened before this that most people probably have not seen, or if they have, they haven't seen it since they were kids. And it gets you right back into it. It reintroduces pretty much the whole team of mutants, and it does it through Sunspot's eyes, which is a really smart way of doing it. So through each way, you get to meet all these characters through his eyes. So it's fresh eyes. It's a great storytelling way.
Because he wasn't there in episode 1.
No, Sunspot's in episode 1.
Did they find him in episode 1?
Yes,
so much that happened. And this is why you listened to the beginning and just said what I asked you, which was what happened in episode 1.
Okay, well then, all right. Short story for, because Tatiana and I did watch all these 3, back to back. So,
it felt like one mini movie for me.
All right, to clear it up. In episode 1, the X-Men rescue Sunspot from the Friends of Humanity. They take him back to the mansion where he meets everyone. He's immediately like, I ain't fucking with this.
The nigga don't want to be there.
And runs off to a nightclub. The X-Men follow him to a nightclub.
Hilarious. Like, come on.
Hilarious. Which was, but see, this is all, once again, these are all like references because this happened before with Dazzler. So they basically switched Dazzler for Sunspot. So the X-Men follow him to the nightclub, whereupon the Friends of Humanity show up again. There's more beef. Boom. Eventually, they say, okay, we got to track down the maker. We need to track down
where they getting these weapons from.
Yeah, where they getting these weapons from.
The only way is if y'all got access to Sentinel, because these are Sentinel-based weapons. Yep. So what's going on?
Is if there's a master mold, which is the thing that mates Sentinels.
Which they had supposedly destroyed.
Yep, so they had destroyed one before. But your man Bolivar Trask shows up. Bolivar Trask is from the comics. The Trask family are basically responsible for creating the Sentinels. If you read House of X, Powers of X, in one of Moira McTaggart's lives, she basically went through and killed all of the Trask trying to stop the Sentinels from happening. It doesn't, help. It
doesn't work, but
because Sentinels and AI is going to come, even if you kill. It's like if you kill Bill Gates, AI is still going to come up. Like,
I do want to say that fight was one of the coldest fights just in this animation, because if one thing is so strong about this series is when they animate the fights. All of the action fight scenes are incredible, especially when they in the desert, when the way Storm came down and turned the fucking sand into glass. My nigga. And went in, like you said, and carried each Sentinel like it was nothing. Like that chef's kiss, beautiful.
Yeah. And that whole, even leading up to it, like the X-Men when the Blackbird gets torn apart and Storm and Storm just nods her head to Rogue, and then they all just snap into action, and then Cyclops is like, okay, team, great work, I'll see you on the ground. Like that whole shit was pure fire.
It's very
the camera whipping around them. It was just great animation.
Yeah.
Oh, like you said, when Storm does take out the Sentinels, they call her an Omega level mutant.
Yep, I heard that part. I said, here we go. They're bringing the new school in.
Yep, and the funny, the Omega level stuff came around, like, it was first introduced as a concept right around the 90s, but it really became prominent recently, and
in the 2000s when they were saying that shit in the Fox versions.
Yep, and so the idea of an Omega level mutant is basically if you're a mutant, there is no limit. Like it's Mean Girls. Like there is no limit because like Storm controls weather.
Right.
So there's no limit
There's
to the weather she can control.
Right.
Like Cyclops, as powerful he is not an Omega level mutant because his eye beams have a limit. You know, they can reach certain limit and that's it.
He
That's
reaches
as strong
a
as they get.
threshold.
Yeah.
There's no, unless there's no atmosphere, and even then I don't even think that's
no.
that
Storm's been shown to control like galactic storms.
That's what I'm saying. I said I don't even think the atmosphere even matters.
Nope.
Like any form of weather.
Yes, she can control. Magneto is the master of magnetism. There's no one more powerful than him at magnetism. He is an Omega level mutant.
What about Professor X? And Jean Grey.
I'm not sure which of them is right now considered the Omega version of. I think Professor X is definitely considered an Omega level telepath.
Yeah.
And I think Jean has the potential as a
like
Phoenix,
eventually, because she's not there yet.
No, she's not there yet. But I think she has the potential to definitely become one of the Omegas. And there's a few other, like Iceman, surprisingly, is an Omega.
Supreme. She's the Supreme.
Yeah. Like I said, Iceman, surprisingly, is Omega level.
He is? He's considered Omega.
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah, because I like, when Iceman goes ham, he goes ham, but he's
that's
always
some Ice Age shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's always been a person who holds back. And that's why you don't ever get to see his real power. But
okay.
Yeah, that was a great reference. Another one I really wanted to talk about real quick in this episode was a great Krakoa House of X reference, was when Gyrick is in jail talking to them, and he says, "Did you honestly think we would roll over, that we wouldn't fight back?" And that's a flip of what the mutants told the humans at the beginning of House of X. It's actually what Cyclops tells, I think he tells Reed Richards that after they established Krakoa. He's like, "Did you honestly think we would just sit here and take it all this time? That we wouldn't fight back?" And so it's a flip right there. And he's even says other things that, it's a direct thing to Krakoa, where he's talking about, if we accept you, eventually you're going to replace us. And that's, that's real world. Yep. That's real world racism. It's, what the X-Men finally take into account in Krakoa. And it's really interesting to me as a huge fan of the X-Men and mutants in general. It's something that came up a lot when people were mad about Krakoa, because they're like, why are the X-Men, doing this? Why are they having their own nation? Why don't they just take it, basically? And as a black man who's dealt with racism my whole life, that was like, yes, I would love it.
Nigga, fight back.
Fight back, nigga. And I would love it if we had our own place. And we were just like, nah, we going to establish our own shit and we going to do our own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just really interesting. And it was really interesting to me to see that pushback. And going back to this, and we're talking about the costuming and everything else. And right now, recently, Marvel just announced what they're doing with the X-Men after Krakoa. And it's basically going back to this. Like, you're going to see Cyclops in this type outfit. You're going to see, they have one book that's basically the main team, Rogue, Gambit, Storm, like all the X-Men that we see in X-Men 97. So really, I'm seeing the corporate side of Marvel coming back into play right now with the X-Men. And this is my big prediction, that when we see them in the MCU, these are the looks you're going to see.
They're going to have the classic looks?
Classic is
closer to classic.
No, but what I'm saying is classic is also depends on who you are, right? Depends on your age. Like, to some people, like, to me, this is my classic X-Men. Like,
this is...
I came up before this, but this was this is like my era of X-Men. Like, the 90s was that, my
I gotta say, even as somebody younger than you, like, this is considered classic for me. Like,
yeah, and
because beyond this, all you have is X-Men version. And then even more recently, you have Krakoa stuff. So this is classic.
There's so many, like, Cyclops is like 50 costumes.
But this is the one.
That's the thing, for most people, this one, and this is the one that Marvel pushed a lot. I mean, it has a lot to do with, like, the people who did it. Like, Jim Lee is one of the greatest artists of all time. And he's the biggest 90s artist, and he's the one who designed most of these looks.
Yeah.
So it just holds, it stays the test of time.
It does. And then you also have to remember, like, also my gen on, like, playing Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom.
Me
like,
too, come on.
These fucking costumes was it. So So I think for a lot of people, this is considered
the classic look. Yeah. So I feel like this is the look that we will see in the movies. I'm not mad at that. There's other stuff I'd like to see. Like I always talk about Krakoa. There's all these areas, but I get it, from a corporate standpoint, from someone looking to establish a brand, this is the looks that they should go for.
Right.
So
before we get out episode one of the things I want to make sure we mention, because we talked about it before we started recording was the dual powers. So like,
for
example,
the mutant circuit.
Yeah, the mutant circuit, right. So in that same fight with Trask and the Sentinels and Massimo, where my man Gambit, when he charged up Wolverine's claws, that shit was fire.
Lit.
And then go ahead, you can say about the next one.
Yeah, and he also throws a card underneath Wolverine's ass to launch him into the air so that he can then tell Morph, give me some bounce, and Morph transforms into the mutant character, the Blob. So Wolverine can then bounce off his stomach and deliver the coup de grace to Master Mold and cut that nigga's head clean off.
Yeah.
With his charged up claws.
I said the fights went and go too damn hard on this show. So
yeah, and the idea of a mutant circuit is something that has been part of X-Men forever, but was recently defined in the Krakoa era as the mutant circuit. And in the Krakoa era, they took it to the extremes where they have this team of the 5 who can resurrect people by combining their powers. But they also define the original mutant circuit is known as the fastball special, which most X-Men fans know as Colossus throwing Wolverine at somebody. So it's something basic like that. It's just combining your powers creates a circuit, and the sum is greater than the parts. Now, I love that Gambit charge up shit because, as we know, Gambit stuff blows up everything. When he charges something, it explodes.
Right.
But Wolverine's claws are indestructible adamantium. So it's like, this is the thing that can be charged up and won't explode. And then he can throw the claw.
And the nigga's invulnerable. You could throw some fucking blow up shit on his ass.
Well, he'll heal. Wolverine still felt that shit, which is a fucked up thing. That's the thing. That's what people always forget about Wolverine, and the comments always bring it up, is he feels all the pain.
He'll be all right.
That's basically what Cameron was saying. Like, this explosion on your ass.
He'll be all right.
No, he didn't ask for that part. He told Morph to help him up. I mean, he knew it was going to happen, but still. It was like, goddamn.
He knew. They practice this, Ben. Believe me. They in the danger room coming up with these fucking circuits.
I get it.
He was ready for his ass.
But goddamn it.
Blow it up.
I mean, even going back to the fastball special, I always thought it was wild that niggas were just throwing this nigga at people. Like, I get it, your bones don't break.
He's 5'2".
It don't matter.
Small.
Niggas,
it's like,
come on, fam.
Nigga.
We're not gonna talk about how niggas used to throw, dwarves around. Like, that shit's trifling. Like, it's hella trifling. Like, just because he's small, this nigga Colossus just throws this nigga around. Like,
they practice this same fucking circuit in the danger room.
How do you practice that, nigga? How do you throw me at that wall, nigga?
Yeah, first of all, it's not a wall. It's whatever it is, a hologram.
I know.
But Wolverine's fucking psycho. He loved this shit. He loved every goddamn minute of it.
I get it. It's like niggas who play football. I've never understood that shit.
And
I never understood it.
Yeah. There is no pain like the pain of not being loved by Jean Grey.
I need you to, Jean. Oh my God.
There is no pain that's worse than that for Wolverine. So he is okay.
How many shots this season are they gonna have this nigga standing outside of a door while he getting played? Like,
crying. And that's what I'm saying. I remember that. Nigga cry. Now, I don't consider him a simp.
See? The disrespect.
Because
this nigga is pure simp.
That nigga, because he simps in front of Jean, but then when Jean not there, he got fucking work to do. This nigga Scott is... No.
This nigga was crying in the tree.
By himself. He's by himself. When company comes or it's time to go get shit done, he ain't talking about, oh, I'm so upset and Jean did this, that, and the third. No, this nigga goes. You need to rewatch that original series, boy. That nigga. Wolverine is on go all the time, and he's about that action all the time. Half the time, Scott crying like, I don't know, we should be doing this and that. Nigga, get the fuck out of here.
No, man, no.
Get your head in the game.
All right, we gonna move on to episode 2 because
get your head in the game.
Because I know why you trying to disrespect this nigga, and this nigga had Sophie's choice. To
disrespect him. I am actively.
No. This nigga has Sophie's choice, and you over here disrespecting this nigga.
Once again, that doesn't take away his power. It doesn't take away that this nigga, it does do dope shit.
Yeah, he's super dope.
He's still a fucking simp.
No.
Yeah.
All right.